Hello everybody. In my last class, I discussed a sum of life, an introduction of the poem A Sum of Life by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Today, I want to discuss the poem line by line. Let's start the first stanza. Tell me not in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream, for the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. From the very beginning, the poet says, we must not accept the negative attitude of life. We must not accept the negative attitude of life. The poet is not pessimistic. He is always optimistic. He believes in the positive side of life. So, he says, life is not a dream. People who believe that life is an empty dream, they are in deep sleep. They are inactive. They are inactive. They want to avoid the real meaning of life. So, the poet says, things are not what they seem. Things are not what they seem. It means life seems to be a dream, but life is not a dream. So, in the next stanza, the poet says, life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art, to dust thou returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Life is real, life is earnest, E-A-R-N-E-S-T, earnest. Earnest means serious. Life is serious, life is real. So, this very line indicates the poet's optimistic attitude, the poet's positive attitude. So, he says that grave is not the goal of life. Grave means death. Grave means death. Grave, you may call in Odia, you may call it Samadhi. Indirectly, it means death. Death is not the aim of life, end of life. We know that man is mortal. A person is sure to die. He may live for 70 years, 95 years, 100 years, or some years like that. But he is sure to die. That means the body perishes. The body is buried. The body is burnt. But the soul is immortal. Soul doesn't die. This line is taken from the Bible. This line is taken from the Bible. Dust thou art, to dust thou returnest. This is a biblical reference. This is a biblical reference. And the poet says that you die, means your body will perish, but your soul remains unaffected. So he says, wasn't dust thou art, to dust thou returnest, wasn't spoken, speak, spoke, spoken of the soul, soul, S-O-U-L, soul. ଓଡ଼ିଆରେ ତାକୁ ଆମେ କହିପାରିବା ଆତ୍ମା, soul. Soul doesn't die. So it is a philosophy. This line is a philosophical line. We all believe that soul doesn't die. And I told in my last class, there is a line in the Gita, Nainang chindanti sustrani, Nainang dohati pabako, no choinang kledantyapo, no susoiti maruto. That is soul. That is soul. Soul cannot be burnt. Soul cannot be killed by using a sword. Soul cannot be flown away in the wind. Soul cannot be dipped in water. And the same philosophy is here. It is composed by H.W. Longfellow. He says that body perishes, but soul remains unaffected. Then the third stanza, not enjoyment, not sorrow, is our destined end or way. Life is a union of mingling of, life is a union of mingling of both joys and sorrows. It is a mingling, it is a union of joys and sorrows. But that is not the way of life. That is not the end of life. We have to enjoy. We have to face some problem. We have to face some difficulties. So the poet says, not enjoyment, not sorrow, is our destined end or way. Destined end or way, but to act. But to act that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. Life without action is meaningless. Man lives in deeds. ମାନବ ଜୀବନ ନୁହେଁ କେବଳ ବର୍ଷ ମାସ ଦିନ ଦଣ୍ଡ, କର୍ମେ ଯିଏ ନର କର୍ମ ଏକା ତାର ଜୀବନର ମାନଦଣ୍ଡ. We measure different things. Suppose we can take the example of distance, meter, centimeter, kilometer. Take the example of any liquid, liter, milliliter. Similarly, you have to measure your life, one's life, human being's life, by watching his action, his deed. That each tomorrow you have to change your attitude. You have to be better, further. F-A-R-T-H-E-R, further means better. But to act, life without action is meaningless. But to act that each tomorrow finds us farther than today. So we can say joy or sorrow is not the way or end of life, way or goal of life. Destined end, destined way, that is a goal or way of life. But to act, we have to act for others. We have to devote ourselves for others. We have to spend our life in the service of the people, service of our fellow men, service of others. And I told, in my introduction class, I told that people who lived for many years are not remembered. But a person who lives for a short period can be remembered. his name is written in the history of the world because of his action. You can take the example of any poem. You can take the example of any type of a building, temple, any monument, any piece of writing, any scientific inventions, any scientific discoveries. And you see that these people are remembered for their action, for their deed. So we have to change our attitude. We have to be better further than today. Then he says, art is long, time is fleeting, and our hearts, though stout and brave, still like muffled drums, are beating funeral marches to the grave. Art is long. Art. When you say the word art, art means any sort of a noble work, any sort of a deed, any sort of noble work, any sort of inventions, any sort of writings, that is known as art. Any sort of painting. Art indicates any good activities. Art is long. Art is everlasting. Art is everlasting. Art is permanent. Life is transient. Life is temporary. Life is for a short period. You may call 20 years, you may call 50 years, you may call 100 years. That is transient. That is temporary. But art is everlasting. Art is long. Art remains there forever. So the poet says that art is long, time is fleeting. Time passes quickly. Fleeting. FLEETING. Fleeting means it passes quickly. Time passes quickly. Time doesn't wait for anybody. Today is 29th July 2020 and tomorrow that is 30th July. So time passes quickly. Time doesn't wait for anybody. Time passes quickly. Time is fleeting. Art is long. Art is everlasting. And our hearts, though stout and brave, we may have a strong heart, stout and brave heart. Though we possess strong and stout heart, still we are beating, BEATING, beating funeral marches to the grave. We are marching towards our own grave. The Christians, they cover the drum when they join the funeral march because it is a solemn procession, solemn, SOLEMN, solemn procession, solemn occasion. So they make less sound by covering the drums. The poet says, we all the human beings, he may be a Hindu, he may be a Christian, he may be a person of any country, any language, he is sure to die. So he is marching, he is going to meet his death. So he says that still like muffled drums, we are beating funeral marches to the grave. We are marching ahead to meet our death. Grave means death. Before we meet death, before we die, we must do something for others. Life is a battlefield. We have to face difficulties, problems. It is not a smooth way. It is a union of both joys and sorrows. It is full of ups and downs. It is full of ups and downs. So he says that we are marching towards our own grave. Before we meet death, we must do something. We must devote. We must sacrifice ourselves for others. So in the next stanza, he says, in the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like a dom-driven cattle, be a hero in the strife. The world is a broad battlefield. The world is a broad battlefield, bivouac of life. Bivouac means temporary tent where the soldiers stay for a short period to face the enemies, to fight the enemies and protect their nation. Similarly, we are sent by the Creator, God, the Almighty, and we are staying in the temporary tent. When our time is over, when our action is over, we have to go back. We have to go back. So, he says, in the world's broad battlefield, in the bivouac of life, be not like a dom-driven cattle. Cattle, they cannot protest. They cannot react. They tolerate everything. They tolerate all the inhuman attitude, all type of difficulties, problems. But the poet says, we are not cattle. We are heroes. The cowards come back from the battlefield. The cowards cannot face the challenges. We are heroes. Be a hero in the strife. Strife means difficulty, strife. Be a hero in the strife. S-T-R-I-F-E. Be a hero in the strife. Difficulties, problems. We have to face it bravely. In the world's broad field of battle, in the bivouac of life, be not like a dom-driven cattle. We are not dom-driven cattle. We are heroes. We are born to do something for others. Be a hero in the strife. We must not surrender. We must not surrender, but face the challenges bravely. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present. Heart within and God overhead. Trust no future. The poet compares past, present and future. Past, present and future. Past, present and future. He says, trust no future. Trust no future. Do not trust. It is uncertain. It may be pleasant. It may be pleasant. Future may be pleasant. But do not trust it. Because it is uncertain. Past is dead. It should be buried. It should be buried. Past is dead, it should be buried. Past. Trust no future, however pleasant. Let the dead past. The poet says that it is dead past. Future is pleasant. Future is pleasant. when you dream of something, I will do something like this, I will get a job, I will get a seat in the medical college, I will serve my country, I will do this and that. You get very pleasure. You feel very ecstatic. But you have to do it. You have to believe in action. If you work hard, if you labor hard, then you can achieve. That is present. Present is living. Living present. Living present. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present. Living present, you have to do something in the present. Suppose you want to do something for your future. You want to dream, you have to make a plan. Accordingly, you have to try your best to achieve your goal. You have to work hard. You have to study your books. You have to make the notes. You have to answer the questions. If you do not do it, if you sit silently, and if you think about the future, I will get a job in the bank, in the railway, I will be the collector, something like that, that is meaningless. So the poet says, act in the living present. Present, you have to act. You have to act in the living present. Heart within and God overhead. You have to trust. You have to trust in your action. Yourself. You have to be optimistic. Yes, I can achieve it. Yes, I can do it. I will do hard labor. I have to achieve it. He may be a farmer. He may be a businessman. He may be a student. Each and every human being has a dream. And to achieve that dream, that goal, you have to work in the living present. And God is there. That Almighty is there. The Creator is there. And He is sure to give you the result. If you do hard labor, then you get the result. Result follows action. Result follows action. If there is no action, then there is no result. So God is there. He says, act in the living present, heart within, God overhead. Lives of great men. Lives of great men remind us we can make our lives sublime. And departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Lives of great men, you can take any example, Abdul Kalam, Mother Teresa, Gopabandhu, Gandhi, any scientist, any writer. Take the example of our own poet, the poet of this poem, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, John Keats, E.B. Shelley, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. Lives of great men, they remind us we can make our lives sublime. We can make our lives sublime means noble, sublime. S-A-O-B. We can make our lives sublime, noble. When we do noble activities, we can make our life sublime. We can make our life sublime and departing. Departing means when we die. When we live, L-E-A-V-E, when we live, when we die, we set an example for others, for our next generation, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Footprints means noble examples. Footprints. We leave behind us footprints, means noble examples for others, for our next generation. And they see our footprints, they see our noble examples, and they will be inspired, they will be influenced when they see the noble examples of their previous generation. We see the noble examples of our previous generations. Our previous generations, as I have told you, the examples of Mother Teresa. In spite of all the difficulties, she worked hard for others. Similarly, when we die, when the present generation will leave this earth, the next generation will follow their noble examples. Then the poet says, footprints, these footprints, that perhaps another sailing over life's solemn man, a forlorn and shipwrecked brother, sing, shall take heart again. These footprints will be an inspiration for others. When a shipwrecked brother, shipwrecked, shipwrecked brother, life is a solemn man. It is a vast ocean, it is a vast sea, and all the human beings are sailing, sailing, sailing the ships of their life. When they face some problem, when they face some difficulties, they break down. They think that they cannot proceed, they cannot go ahead. When their ship is wrecked, they think that they cannot go ahead, they cannot proceed. And at that moment, our examples, the examples of a noble man, the examples of a great man, give them an inspiration. So, Longfellow says, sailing over, when the person is sailing the ships of his life, when the person is sailing the ship of his life, over the solemn man, a forlorn, when he has become alone, there is no one. He has become alone. Oh, how can I start? Where should I go? What should I do? He feels disappointed. At that moment, a forlorn, shipwrecked brother sing. At that moment, he will see the noble examples, the sublime examples of his previous generation. And at that moment, he will be inspired. He shall take heart again. He shall start his life again. At that moment, he will feel that he can achieve success. He can achieve success. He can go ahead. He shall take heart again. Sing, shall take heart again. In the last stanza of the poem, the poet says, let's then be open doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. Let's then be open doing. You have to start your work. Do not think that you cannot face the challenges. You have that potentiality, you have that ability, you have that capacity. You can face any challenge. So, open doing, stand up and start your work. Do not think that it is impossible, life is impossible, this work is impossible, my result, how can I achieve my result? How can I get first class? How can I do this? How can I do that? Everything is possible. Let us be then open doing for any fate. Do not think about the result. Result, as I have told you, result follows action. If your action, if there is your action, then result is surely follow. Result will surely follow. So he says that let us be an open doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. There is a line in the Gita, Karminya Badhikaraste ma phalesu kadachana. Lord Krishna says, do your work. I am there to give you the result. And in this poem, Longfellow says, still achieving, still pursuing. If you pursue, if you run after your goal, if you pursue, run after your goal, then you will achieve it. Learn to labor. First, you have to learn to labor hard, to work hard. Then, result is there. Result will follow it. Learn to labor and to wait for the result. The Creator, God Almighty, He will surely give you your expected result. So, my dear students, this poem, when you read this poem, when you analyze this poem, you see there is a positive attitude. Everywhere, the poet inspires us, influences us to proceed, to go ahead in spite of all the challenges, all the ups and downs in our life. Thank you.